Imagine a machine. You lie down, you close your eyes, and when you open them again, the cancer is gone. The missing limb has grown back. The decades have peeled away from your face, your joints, your failing heart. You are 25 again. You are whole. You are cured. Now imagine that this machine exists right now, today, hidden in a bunker, in a military tunnel, in a facility you will never be allowed to see. And they are keeping it from you. That is the promise of the Medbed, and millions of people believe it. Some of them are spending their last dollars on it. Some of them are refusing chemotherapy because of it. Some of them are dying because of it. This is Signal Watch, and tonight we pull the sheet back. I am the Watcher, and I man the watchtower on the edge of our reality. This is Signal Watch, a broadcast from the border between what is real and what people have been made to believe. I track the signals. I follow the frequency of deception as it moves through our world. And every week, I bring you back a report from the front lines of an invisible war. It is a war against the truth. And right now, the truth is losing. We are living through what can only be called an epistemic collapse. Not a crisis. A crisis implies something temporary, a fever that breaks, a storm that passes. This is a collapse, a structural failure. The foundations on which millions of people once built their understanding of the world, science, evidence, expertise, verifiable fact, those foundations are cracking. For a growing number of our fellow citizens, there is no longer a reliable method to distinguish what is true from what is not. Conspiracy theory is the rot that eats at those foundations. It is a spreading sickness. It metastasizes in private, in group chats and Telegram channels, in YouTube comment sections, and whispered conversations at kitchen tables. By the time you notice it, it has already changed the shape of someone's world. Signal Watch exists to track this disease and to catalog it, to show you what it looks like, how it spreads, what it costs. Because conspiracy theory is not harmless. It is not entertainment. It kills people. It bankrupts families. It elects authoritarians. It poisons everything it touches, including you. And here is the uncomfortable truth that I want you to carry with you through every episode of this show. Even if you think you are immune, especially if you think you are immune, the chances are very good that something you believe right now at this very moment is wrong. Something you believe is a lie. Tonight, the Medbed, a technology that does not exist, a promise that preys on the desperate, and a conspiracy theory that has crawled out of the internet's darkest corners and into the feed of the President of the United States. Stay with me.
September 27th, 2025, a video appears on Truth Social on the verified account of the sitting President of the United States. It looks like a Fox News broadcast. It appears to show Laura Trump, former co-chair of the Republican National Committee, delivering breaking news. The production values are slick, the chirons look real, and the announcement is breathtaking.
President Donald J. Trump has announced a historic new healthcare system, the launch of America's first Medbed hospitals, and a national Medbed card for every citizen. These facilities are safe, modern, and designed to restore every citizen to full health and strength. Every American will soon receive their own Medbed card.
None of it was real. The video was generated by artificial intelligence. That was not Lara Trump. That was not the Oval Office. There were no Medbed hospitals. There was no Medbed card. Fox News confirmed the segment had never aired. The video was deleted the next day, a Sunday morning, but it had already been up for approximately 12 hours. And in those 12 hours, thousands of people saw it, believed it, shared it, celebrated it. For people who had been waiting, praying for the Medbeds to arrive, this looked like the moment. The Savior had finally delivered. He hadn't, nobody has, nobody will. To understand how the Medbed conspiracy reaches people, you need to know where it lives. This is not fringe material hidden on some obscure forum. It is everywhere. Telegram is the primary hub. There are channels with tens of thousands of members devoted entirely to Medbed discussion, sharing updates on rollout timelines, debating which type of Medbed is best, and exchanging tips on how to get access first. One New Jersey-based Telegram channel for Medbed enthusiasts featured a mother's desperate plea. I'm desperately seeking any help from all to answer my prayers to a cure for my son's cancer. TikTok has become a major vector. Videos proclaiming Medbeds are coming have been viewed millions of times. The algorithm rewards engagement, and few things drive engagement like the promise of immortality. Facebook groups blend New Age wellness communities with QAnon-adjacent political conspiracy. In these spaces, the language of frequencies, vibrations, and quantum healing mixes seamlessly with narratives about the deep state suppressing cures. YouTube and Rumble host hours-long interviews with self-described super soldiers and secret space program veterans who claim to have personally used Medbeds. Channels like Super Soldier Talk, run by James Rink, feature guests who describe healing experiences on holographic medical beds in off-planet facilities. Podcasts including Cosmic Brilliance, Matrix Assassins, Project Camelot, and Coast to Coast AM have all hosted guests who promote Medbed narratives, typically woven into a larger tapestry involving secret space programs, extraterrestrial contact, and suppressed technologies. Discord servers and niche forums further amplify the signal. QAnon influencers like Michael Protzman, known as Negative 48, the self-proclaimed Queen of Canada, Romana Didelot, and the Japanese movement Yamato Q have all promoted Medbeds to their followers. And now we get to the part where people start losing money, because where there is desperate hope, there are always people willing to sell it. The registration fee scam. This is the simplest grift. A coordinator, often operating through Telegram or Facebook, claims to be organizing access to real Medbeds. To get on the list, you pay a registration fee. $300 is common. Some operations ask for $500. One investigator documented a scheme with country-specific contacts, each collecting upfront fees from hopeful patients. You pay, you wait, nothing arrives. The Medbed was never coming because the Medbed does not exist. The Medbed card. A website called medbedcard.com sells what it calls a limited series Medbed card for $447. Discounted, they say, from $1,490. What do you get for your $447? According to the site, exclusive information about terahertz technology, up to 70% discounts on their products, and personalized offers delivered to your email. As the site's own fine print states, the Medbed card has no other function or meaning beyond the benefits listed above. An investigation by Snopes found no evidence the company was even selling any other products to discount. Tesla Biohealing. Then there is the flagship operation. Tesla Biohealing, which has no connection to the electric car company, operates what it calls Tesla Wellness Hotels and Medbed Centers in multiple states. A former Days Inn in Butler, Pennsylvania, about 45 minutes north of Pittsburgh, was converted into one such center. A one-night stay in a highly energized room runs $300. The rooms look like any other motel room, but underneath the beds are metal canisters that the company claims emit life force energy through biophotons. What is inside the canisters? According to the company, a mix of fine naturally active stones and activated fine metal, grout, sands, and proprietary polymers. When one user opened a canister, she found cement. The label said shelf life, 36 months. The company also sells its flagship Biophotonizer M modern medbed device for $11,000 or $19,999 for two. They sell bottled water for $150 per 24 pack, claiming it has been imbued with life force energy. They sell devices for pets and children. In August 2023, the FDA issued a formal warning letter to Tesla Biohealing, citing misbranding and unapproved medical device claims. The FDA found the company was marketing its products for the treatment of terminal cancers, stroke paralysis, Lyme disease, Alzheimer's, dementia, and epilepsy, none of which the devices are approved or demonstrated to treat. The company's own disclaimer reads, "Our products aren't yet FDA approved to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease." The Sky Prince operation. A figure calling herself Sky Prince has operated what appears to be a medbed access service, charging escalating fees. One victim, whose story was published on the blog of a sympathetic but concerned medbed believer, described paying $5,750 in stages, starting with a $300 registration fee, then $4,500, then a $1,500 insurance deposit, then $3,000 for transportation and accommodation. After each payment, another charge appeared. The victim eventually realized they were being scammed. Payments were made via PayPal and Bitcoin. Recovery of funds proved extremely difficult. Another person wrote to the same blog asking for help. Their child had a brain tumor called medulloblastoma. Sky Prince had offered to get the child into a medbed. The fee, $2,700 payable in Bitcoin. A child with a brain tumor. And someone charged their parent $2,700 in cryptocurrency for access to a machine that does not exist. The Swiss operation. In 2022, a Swiss company called 90.10, which secured the URL medbed.com, was selling devices that claimed to convert your regular bed into a medbed using quantum energy and frequencies. The company promised users infinite energy and the ability to reprogram your DNA. A researcher at Monmouth University bought one and tested it. The protocol: you lie on the bed, speak the phrase medbed, scan me, and wait to feel something. The company's legal disclaimer states the product name is short for meditation bed and that it is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The BBB complaint. A complaint filed with the Better Business Bureau tells a particularly heartbreaking story. An elderly couple was drawn into what appeared to be a cryptocurrency investment scheme that pivoted into a medbed scam. After depositing money over several months, they were told they could enroll a disabled husband into a medbed program that included free medical insurance. The enrollment form led to a demand for another $5,000. When they asked to withdraw their money instead, they were told they could not access their funds until the medbed payment was made. The couple wrote, "It's so disheartening to be taken advantage of this way. We are two older people who are trying to make ends meet." The costs. The financial extraction operates at every level. Registration fees of $300 to $500 for a place in line that leads nowhere. Medbed cards for $447, Tesla biohealing canisters ranging from $599 to $11,000, overnight stays at $300 per night, escalating payment schemes that can drain thousands before the victim realizes nothing is coming. And behind all of it, the fine print always says the same thing: not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The founder of Tesla Biohealing told the Associated Press that 40,000 people have used his devices at prices ranging from $300 a night to $11,000 per device. We are looking at a revenue stream measured in millions, extracted primarily from the desperate and the sick. The opportunity cost. But the financial cost may be the least of it, because the real price of belief in medbeds is measured in something far more precious than money. It is measured in time. Journalists and researchers have documented cases where believers delayed or refused conventional medical treatment because they were waiting for medbeds to arrive. A person with treatable cancer who skips chemotherapy because they believe a quantum healing pod is about to be released is making a choice that cannot be unmade. As McGill University's Office for Science and Society put it, the medbed phenomenon operates like a doomsday cult that keeps revising the date of the apocalypse. The salvation is always imminent. The timeline always shifts. And while you wait, the disease progresses. One FDA complaint detailed a man who purchased Tesla biohealing devices for his elderly mother, who suffered from strokes, dementia, Parkinson's disease, and other conditions. He placed the devices under her bed and beside her head as instructed. There was no improvement. His mother passed away in 2024. In his complaint, he wrote that the company took advantage of his need and his vulnerable state. The company deleted his negative reviews from its website. Who falls for this? The answer is not who you might expect, and it matters because the impulse to dismiss believers as stupid is itself a failure of understanding. The profile of a medbed believer, based on reporting and research, tends to include one or more of the following: a serious or terminal medical condition for themselves or a loved one, an existing distrust of mainstream medicine, often amplified by the COVID-19 pandemic, involvement in or exposure to QAnon or adjacent conspiracy communities, economic vulnerability, and a sense that the established system has failed them. As one psychiatrist and medical fraud expert put it, distrust of government and distrust of major institutions makes people vulnerable. But there are other factors too. Some people are desperate for help and they don't know what to believe. These are not, in the main, wealthy people making frivolous purchases. These are often elderly people, chronically ill people, caregivers running out of options, and families who have watched the healthcare system fail someone they love. The conspiracy exploits them precisely because their need is real and their desperation is genuine. The ancient con. I want to zoom out for a moment because, as extraordinary as the medbed story is, the underlying scam is as old as human misery. In the 1800s, hucksters peddled magic elixirs from the backs of wagons. The term snake oil entered the American lexicon because men literally sold snake oil as a cure-all for muscle pain, frostbite, sore throats, and everything in between. In the 1920s, a man named John Brinkley became a household name by implanting goat testicles into the bodies of patients complaining of infertility and impotence. He made a fortune. In the early 20th century, the craze for electricity produced a market in electric belts and magnetic suits, sold as cures for anxiety, paralysis, and sexual dysfunction. Radium-laced water was marketed as a health tonic before anyone understood what radiation sickness was. And then there is Listerine. Today, it is a mouthwash, but Listerine was originally sold as a surgical antiseptic, then marketed as a cure for gonorrhea, a floor cleaner, a dandruff treatment, and a cold remedy. From 1921 until the mid-1970s, the company told Americans that gargling with Listerine could prevent and cure colds and sore throats. In 1976, the Federal Trade Commission ruled these claims were false and ordered the company to spend $10.2 million on corrective advertising, ads that explicitly stated Listerine would not prevent colds. This was not some fly-by-night operation. This was a major American corporation lying to consumers for over 50 years. The formula never changes. Promise a miracle. Use the language of whatever sounds most authoritative in that era. Electricity, radiation, quantum energy, biophotons target people who are in pain, who are afraid, who have been failed by the systems they were told to trust, and collect the money. But medbeds have something the snake oil salesman didn't, a template from fiction. In 2013, the film Elysium presented a world where the wealthy live on an orbital space station equipped with medbays, devices that can cure any disease, heal any wound, rebuild a face destroyed by a grenade, and reverse aging. The med bays are hoarded by the elite while the people of Earth suffer and die in squalor. The movie's entire plot is driven by a man's desperate fight to reach one of these machines before his radiation poisoning kills him. A nurse's daughter is dying of leukemia. If they can just get to a med bay, everything will be fine. The parallels to medbed conspiracy lore are not subtle. The technology that cures everything, the elites who keep it for themselves, the desperate masses fighting for access, the promise that if the right leader takes power, the machines will be released to everyone. Star Trek's biobeds and sickbay technology predate Elysium by decades. The Bacta tanks of Star Wars serve a similar function. Science fiction has always imagined miraculous healing technology. But in the world of conspiracy theory, fiction becomes predictive programming. The idea that the elites embed truth in movies and television to prepare the public for eventual revelation. They showed you the medbed in Elysium not as entertainment, but as disclosure. They were telling you it was real. It is, of course, not real, but the emotional architecture of the Elysium story, that the cure exists, that the powerful are hiding it, that a hero can liberate it for the people, maps perfectly onto the medbed conspiracy. Fiction provided the blueprint. The internet built the church. The medbed myth did not spring from nothing. It grew out of the secret space program conspiracy community. The key early promoters include Randy Kramer, who calls himself Captain K and claims to have served 20 years in a secret space program, including 17 years on Mars. He says he personally used holographic medbeds to regenerate injuries during his service. He launched a GoFundMe campaign seeking $75,000 to develop medbed technology on Earth. The campaign was removed. A formal inquiry by a Marine Corps veteran confirmed that no person named Randy Kramer has ever served in the U.S. Marine Corps. James Rink, who runs the Super Soldier Talk YouTube channel and the website neologicaltech.com, which sells meditation devices. Rink describes himself as a product of Project Surrogate and hosts hours-long interviews with self-described super soldiers and SSP veterans discussing medbed technology, alien contact, and classified programs. Jared Rand, note, different from Kramer, who has described the medbed experience in vivid detail in online posts and calls. You go into a deep sleep. There's no injection, no needles or anything. You wake up and look in the mirror and your creepy skin is gone. Your white hair is the color it was when you were in your 20s. It's the same for your eyesight, your hearing, your taste, your smell. Everything is restored to a perfected younger state again. From these origins in the secret space program fringe, the idea migrated into QAnon, where it merged with existing narratives about Trump as savior, the deep state as villain, and an imminent great awakening in which all hidden truths would be revealed. By the early 2020s, medbeds were no longer a niche SSP talking point. They were mainstream conspiracy. And now for the part that should be unnecessary but isn't. Medbeds do not exist. There is no technology on Earth in any military facility, in any bunker, in any classified program that can cure all diseases, regrow limbs, or reverse aging. No peer-reviewed scientific paper has ever described such a device. No credible scientist or physician has ever confirmed their existence. No government agency has ever acknowledged them as real. Dr. Rebecca Andrews, chair of the American College of Physicians Board of Regents, stated it plainly: medbeds don't exist. The buzzwords used to describe medbed technology, quantum energy, biophotons, tachyon fields, terahertz frequencies, are real scientific terms that have been stripped of their actual meaning and repurposed as marketing language. Quantum mechanics is a real field of physics. It does not allow you to regenerate limbs. Biophotons are real. They are ultra-weak light emissions from biological tissue. They do not power healing beds. Terahertz radiation is real. It is used in security scanning. It does not reprogram DNA. Every company that sells a medbed product includes a legal disclaimer stating that the product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. They include this disclaimer because the products do not diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The disclaimers are not there for legal formality. They are the truth hiding in plain sight on the very page that sells you the lie. The FDA has taken enforcement action. Medical professionals have spoken out. Science communicators have debunked these claims exhaustively, and still the myth persists. Because it was never really about evidence. It is about hope. It is about pain. It is about a world that feels broken and a system that feels rigged, and the desperate human need to believe that somewhere, someone has the answer. I understand that need, but understanding it does not change the fact that these claims are false, that people are being harmed, and that the architects of this myth are profiting from human suffering. I want you to hold two things in your mind as we close tonight. The first is the image of that parent sitting at a keyboard asking a stranger on the internet for help getting their child with a brain tumor into a machine that does not exist, paying $2,700 in Bitcoin, hoping. The second is the image of whoever is on the other end of that transaction, taking the money, knowing what they know, doing it anyway. That is what conspiracy theory produces when it reaches the end of its life cycle. Not just incorrect beliefs, not just political radicalization, but a machine for extracting money from people who are dying and people who love them. A machine that runs on hope and despair in equal measure. And the medbed is just one signal, one frequency in a spectrum of deception that stretches from the merely foolish to the genuinely lethal. There are more. There are always more. I am the Watcher. I man the watchtower on the edge of our reality, and I will be here next week with another report from the front lines. Until then, remember, something you believe is a lie